am I glad to be on camera right now talking to whoever I'm talking to, doing whatever video I'm doing? Am I having fun? Yes, that's been the case over a decade now.
What's going on, guys? It is your boy, Tom Flourish, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by the one and only Kiro from the Kiro Valentine and Kiss the Ring. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited to do this. Yeah, been looking forward to this.
Very much so, my friend. But if we take this back to the beginning, where do you first discover wrestling as an overall fan?
That's a loaded question. Now, a bit of a background on me. I am a Turkish guy, born and raised in Turkey for like over 20 years. So I discovered it back in Turkey around, I think, 2009, especially when the Jeff Hardy and CM Punk feud was going on, where Jeff Hardy left the company. But that's when I discovered it on TV, the real thing. But before that, a year or two ago, there used to be these things called like PlayStation 2 cafes. Like you can go in there and play PlayStation 2, like put a coin in there, kind of like an arcade, but with PlayStation 2s. And I played SmackDown vs. Raw, I think the original one that came out in 2005. And I remember picking Rey Mysterio a lot, Rico a lot. I don't know, when I was a kid, those guys like looked really cool to me, especially Rey Mysterio looked like Spider-Man. So yeah, video games was the first time I saw wrestling. And then, yeah, the Jeff Hardy CM Punk that whole feud got me into it.
This might sound like a very silly question, but what were some of the immediate differences you noticed from the video games and then actual wrestling?
Oh man, it is an interesting question because we're going back all the way to 2009 and my memory is hazy. I don't know. Actually, I didn't notice anything because I loved Rey Mysterio, and then I watched Rey Mysterio versus like The Undertaker or Batista on TV, and he's like the same to me, to my child mind, the same on TV as well, because he's flying everywhere, he's taking all these crazy, bumps, and he's getting back up there and fighting. So I just don't think I was smart enough to even differentiate between the two. Like when I first started watching, I thought it was real for 2-3 years, I think. So yeah.
What was the moment that you realized, okay, this is a show then?
Oh, okay. So back in 2000 and I think, 10, 11, it was still, wrestling was still, what do you call it? Televised on national television at prime time too. So everybody and their mother could just easily watch it. And I was at my friend's house and we were watching, like my family was there too. And then like my friend's father came into the room and he was like, the whole night, no, this is fake. This is fake. These punches, they're not real. If these punches were real, even with one punch, they would start bleeding. And I was like, no way. No way. That's not true. That's what I was saying. I was trying to deny it as much as I could. But then, after, we went back home and after I kept watching, I was like, I don't want to admit it, but I think the guy was right. I think he was right. And that's when I slowly started realizing, looking more into it. I think I went into the WWE website and it was saying there, like, this is a show or something like that. I was like, I was a little heartbroken.
Home, I believe.
Yeah. So that's how it happened for me.
So when you do discover it was fate or a show, shall we say?
Yeah, scripted. Yeah.
Scripted. Does that lessen your fandom at all or change your fandom? Because I know for me personally, I had a period away once I found it was fake.
See, that's interesting. Right. Yeah. You're on the internet, people are peculiar about the word choices. But man, my friends, like my whole school was watching this, my whole class. And then once we figured out it was fake, we talked in between each other, obviously, pretty much everybody stopped watching. And I was disappointed at first when I realized it was fake, because I mean, come on, like when you don't know it's fake, every punch, every drop kick, even a simple leg drop, today it's a leg drop, nobody cares about it. But back then I was like, oh my God, he killed him. And it's like, but slowly I noticed that all my friends stopped watching, but I was still following it on, Facebook at the time, on social media. I was still playing the game. So I was a little disappointed, but that disappointment in time turned into interest, kind of like the same way where you see a magic trick is fake, but then you want to know how it's done. So that's kind of became my fascination for the next couple of years. Like, okay, this is fake or scripted, but this is like still insane, pretty cool. How do they do it? So that was my attitude towards it.
I understand what you're saying completely there. So when you do discover wrestling, are you someone that's like, I need to watch everything that I can?
Initially, no. Initially, I would catch it on TV. Again, it was on prime time, so it was like very possible for me to do it like without even trying. So initially, no. After I learned it was fake, I think around that time, I started to, because of social media coming into prominence too, because like, back in the day, around, 2009, 2011 or whatever, I mean, Facebook was barely a new thing. Twitter was just maybe started. So like, that's when I guess started to watch more. But at first, no, I was the least interested in my friend group, as a matter of fact. So I don't know how things turned out the way they are right now.
So what about now as we record this in June of 2024, just because I'm not quite sure when this will air. Where is your current fandom? What are you watching and everything in between?
Okay, so I had around 2019, I had like a epiphany or a forced moment. I was like, those 3 a.m. inspiration moments?
Yep.
Basically, around 2019, my fandom was at the highest level. So I would watch WWE. This was, I think, the beginning of 2019. So I don't know if AEW was a thing, but it was, the indies were going crazy. So New Japan, I even dipped into some, Stardom, UK promotions, everything that I could watch. Like I love WCPW. I don't know, like Over the Top Wrestling or Evolve. Literally, I was just consuming everything and I was loving everything. And in 2019, like I was like, I'm about to, kind of graduate university or something like that. Or I was going to have a huge summer break and like, okay, what am I going to do for these 3 months? And I would always dream in my head, I think like most of us do, like, oh, what if I won the WWE championship? Imagining myself in that moment. So I actually went to Germany because of that, like to WXW wrestling school and tried to become a professional wrestler for a month. But being from Turkey, you have to deal with a whole lot of visa and just it's a lot of trouble. So, but even going there for a month was amazing for me. I wish I could see Gunther because back then I was watching him a lot, but I could only see his shorts. He left his shorts like for one training, forgot to take him home. And that was all I could see of Gunther. That was it. But man, yeah. I still got to be trained by some pretty awesome people there. And it was a very harrowing experience. Like before that, I thought becoming a professional wrestler was super tough, but when I went there, it was like, oh my God, this is 20 times tougher than I ever expected. Not just because of what you got to do in training and inside the ring, because of the lifestyle. You kind of got to be a perfect human, like sleep well, eat well, travel 20 million hours on a car and keep doing that for a long time for just a hot dog and a handshake. And so that was like a big crushing blow for me. After that, I guess, that was like my disappointment. Plus, like watching New Japan and all these promotions a lot, I felt that a lot of the matches started to repeat for me, especially the ones that didn't focus on the story, but just focused on athleticism. Like it was cool, but I saw that stuff a million times. So over the years, I started to become way more WWE centric than I ever was. So right now, I'm pretty much WWE. I watch AEW thanks to, Kiss the Ring, and I have some, feelings about that. But I'd say I'm like 80% WWE and 20% everything else right now. So very, very much WWE centric right now. But I do keep my eye on everything.
Going back to trying to be a pro wrestler in Germany, when you do get the realization that, okay, I can't do this because of things outside of your control, did that change your fandom at all? Did it force you to have a step back of like, I can't do this, so I don't want to watch this?
That kind of stuff happened. Well, I don't want to watch this. No, I don't think that ever happened. The only reason why I ever said I don't want to watch wrestling was like back in 2019, where was it 2019? Yeah, like 20. Like I remember a specific Royal Rumble that was so badly booked that I was super mad that night. I was like, I'm gonna give up watching wrestling. But it was, I'm just playing around. I think I'll watch wrestling till the end of my life. I'll always have my eye on it. But after I tried becoming a professional wrestler in Germany and, getting crushed, it wasn't really the end of my journey of trying to become a professional wrestler, because I said, man, if I want to really do this, like, I gotta live in Germany or in America or Canada, which is where I am right now, like permanently, so that I can actually pursue this. And that's pretty much like a very big reason why I, immigrated from Turkey to Canada. Although I say to my family, like, oh, it's for educational reasons, better life and stuff like that. Wrestling was always in the back of my head. But of course, I can't tell my mother and father that, because especially my mother, she gets like really heartbroken, especially when she sees me, like, even my training matches, when I bump and stuff like that, she gets really scared. But regardless, I came to Canada and I trained here for a couple of months as well. And like, this time, for real, I actually went into it for real, because I wanted to know if I could do this or not and have zero regrets. And I couldn't do it, but I also don't have any regrets now. But all that being said, it never really changed my fandom of professional wrestling. Right now, I'm more focused on Kiss the Ring, Kara Valentine. I have a other Turkish channel that I've been, posting content on for around 10 years now. It has like 30,000 subscribers. And I just love doing it. Whether I earn money, whether I have the time or not, I don't care. I think I'm going to be watching wrestling forever, and I'm going to be in some way, shape or form creating content around it. So did it affect me in any way? Not really. Not really.
What was the moment then? You talk about trying again and moving to Canada. First of all, because there's a lot to unpack in that section of like, what was the moment you were like, okay, I need to live somewhere that's a bit more wrestling centric full time? And why did you land on Canada, for one? And then second of all, what was the moment that you were like, yeah, this wrestling isn't for me?
Right. What was the moment where I thought I had to live, in a foreign country permanently? It was like, I don't know if it was a moment. I think it was just, I have other friends in Turkey that had the same dream that I do. And some of them, like I know 2 of them that still want to become professional wrestlers, but it's just the geography that we're born in and the economical situation and the political situation, everything is super tough that it's really tough. So we would just talk about hours upon hours, maybe face to face, maybe over the phone, about how we're going to become professional wrestlers, or how the situation is, how tough the situation is, but how we're going to go ahead and move some way and find a way to, become professional wrestlers. So it was just those conversations over time did it for me. And I was like, it's that. And I guess when I wrestled, when I was in that ring, or when I was working towards that dream, it just gave me a sense of fulfillment. Like I enjoyed life more. I was maybe the most stressed I was in my entire life, but at the same time, I was the happiest that I was, during those times. So, it wasn't just a moment for me. I don't think. So just overall, everything happening pushed me to that decision. And when I decided to stop wrestling, I don't know if it was a moment either, because here's the thing. I came to Canada, I started training. I think I went to training for 2 months. I took a bit of a break because, it was just like, the problem with me was when I get into this, I want to do this for real. And I don't want to BS. I want to work out, eat well, sleep well, do everything properly. And that was my mindset. But I think that was also my downfall, because like, if I didn't take a bump properly, if I didn't run the ropes in great timing.
Too hard on yourself?
Exactly. Too hard on myself. That's correct. So that just kept happening. So, I tried a couple times, same thing happened, tried again, same thing happened. And it just kept happening. And then I had a conversation with a friend. I think he's also from Turkey, came over to Canada. And by the way, the reason I came here was because it's relatively easier to immigrate here because of all the policies. That's really it.
Yeah.
Because when you say pro wrestling, I think America has a lot more opportunities and crazier schools. But I trained in Superkick Wrestling, by the way. If anybody comes over to Toronto, I definitely recommend them. Like they're very good. They're very good. But I was having this conversation with my other Turkish friend. It was in a very similar situation to me. And I guess like we were talking about the pain we're having because like I had pain in my lower back. I was trying to catch this bus. Normally I can just run, no problem. But as soon as I started running that day, I was like, oh God. And I couldn't even properly walk that day. I was like, that really made me think, because in the future, this is going to get worse. That's what I was thinking. And my friend said, oh yeah, that happens to me too. I just take painkillers. So I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that, just take painkillers, continue to move on. And look, hundreds of thousands of people try to become professional wrestlers. How am I going to make it? Am I going to go ahead and make the sacrifices of, enhancing my body in the future so I can appear in places like AEW and WWE, so I can look the part of becoming a wrestler? And then am I compatible with the lifestyle? And all those answers were no. So yeah, that conversation was like, okay, I know where my head's at. I love wrestling. I love being in a wrestling ring. It's really fun, but I got to stop. I tried, but I have no problems, no qualms about stopping, no regrets. I can just create content on YouTube. I enjoy that immensely. And so that's where my head is at right now.
You talk about having no regrets there. Do you view because we'll get into your content creation journey in a second, but to sort of tie a bow on your pro wrestling tryout sort of thing, do you view trying to be a pro wrestler as a success?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I talked about like 2 friends back in Turkey that had this dream. Those are not the 2. Those are like the 2 that really, really wanted and talk about it all the time. I had like 20, maybe 100, thousands of people in Turkey that I know because of, my YouTube channel. They, say it under the comments. I have a dream like this too. They tell me on Instagram and stuff like that. A lot of people just say it, and not a lot of people just even attempt it. You know what I mean? So the fact that I went through the trouble to go to Germany, go through all the visa, BS, and try to go to Canada, and actually have the courage to walk in that door, get into the wrestling ring, take all those bumps, because I don't like taking too many risks. But in wrestling, you got to have no fear. And like, I'm deathly scared of, for example, needles. But I had to get my blood taken, and I was like, okay, this is for wrestling. I don't care. So I did it. I did stuff that I thought I could never do. I had the discipline, and not just inside the wrestling ring, but outside in my life too. So this is an absolute success for me, for sure. It'd be cool if I got to be a, wrestler in the WWE. But again, I tried. I really gave it my all. Like, I can say that without any doubt. And that's why I will never have any regrets. And if anyone's watching this right now, Tom, if you want to become a professional wrestler and you never tried it, man, go to a class. Go to a class just once, because like, I think it changes everything, your perception, and you will never have to regret or think about that type of thought ever again. So definitely.
You talk about there as well, it changing your perception of things. How much did it change your content creation? Because you talk about being involved in content creation being a pro wrestling training. How did it change you as a content creator
then? Well, now, since I'm a pro wrestling channel, the majority of my content is pro wrestling. I think the major change is just the perspective. Now I know how to take a bump. I know how to do the fundamental stuff. Obviously, I'm no like a professor at it. Definitely not. I barely know anything in comparison to any other person who's actually been in this business. But I know a lot more than the average YouTuber, and like, I've actually experienced a whole lot of the things. So like, for example, we were talking about what happened to Adam Copeland. He injured his leg, broke his leg, and so in a sense like that, in a podcast, I can say like, oh yeah, going up to the top rope, because I've been there, I've done that before. Even that is extremely scary. So you go up to that cage, so double the size, like, no wonder something like this happened. So I can go ahead and use my experience that I gathered, and just bring value to content, whichever content, whether it's mine, whether it's a podcast we're doing with Kiss the Ring, that nobody else can. So That's been the biggest thing for sure.
So you brought up content creation there and things like that. That's a beautiful segue, my friend. How do you get into this crazy world that is content creation then?
Well, I ever since I was a kid, like 2 years old, I could move. I was just messing with a PC. My father told me all the time, like I would just break down the PC somehow, like crash the PCs, even when I was little. So I've always just been growing up in front of a computer screen. So I, from a very early age, like was on YouTube and watching it all the time. And around 2010, 11, like I started watching a whole bunch of Minecraft videos in English and in Turkish, of course. And like I gotta say, that's the reason why I can speak English the way I do right now, watching YouTube videos, by the way. So if
Oh
anybody wants
wow.
to also learn, yeah, learn languages, like watch stuff that you're interested in your target language, and just keep doing it for years and years and years. And this is what you can do. But um, basically, I just watched it a lot every single day for hours and hours. Other than that, I was gaming, and I was exposed to it so much that I naturally wanted to do it. I think it was at the end of 2012 or something like that. My first ever video was a Minecraft survival let's play type thing. So I started doing gaming, a whole lot of gaming, and yeah, that's how it began. I just saw a lot of people do it, and I thought it was cool, so I gave it a try.
How do you then transition into the wrestling side of things?
Oh, damn,
As
that's
in the
that's something I've not thought about. Yeah, what's that?
as in the wrestling content creation, I mean.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. I was just saying, like, that's something that I've not thought about in years. But yeah, it was interesting because when I first started, I think around 2014, up until that point, I was just doing all the games that I was interested in, whether it's a AAA game or an indie game. And I was still, at that point, especially after like CM Punk's Pipe Bomb promo, uh, religiously watching wrestling at that point. But uh, I thought nobody in Turkey really cared about it, especially after around those times, because like after let's say 2011 stuff like that, like how I said wrestling was on prime time television. Well, it got pushed to like let's say 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and so it slowly just faded away. Before that, it was kind of like our Attitude Era in Turkey, but after that, it faded away. And I thought at that point nobody cared about wrestling, so I kind of kept it as a secret. I never told any of my subscribers until 2014, 2K14 came out, and there was this mode called Defeat the Streak. It's one of the
Yeah.
greatest modes. I think it's really, really fun. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a video about. So I don't even care what people say. I'm just going to try it. And I thought people would just like make fun of me. Like, this is wrestling. This is fake BS. Why are you even watching this? But it ended up having a different effect. Like, people really welcomed it. People really liked it. I was like genuinely and pleasantly surprised. Okay. And I was like, okay, there's something here that I can go with. So that video was it, man. Defeat the Streak. After that, I did, Universe Mode with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. It just grow and grew and grew from there.
Mm. So when you make this video and you talk about the apprehension you have about uploading the Defeat the Streak video, because in your own words,
Mhm.
you don't think anyone's going to care. When people do care,
Mhm.
does that change does a light bulb go off in your head and are you like, I think we're going to do wrestling full time?
Yeah. I mean, I, I'm not the smartest kid on the block. Let me say that. I don't even know if I like strategically planned it, but when I saw people liked it, I was like, "Oh my God, this feels good. I'm just gonna upload more." So yeah, that was, I guess, light bulb moment for sure. But I wasn't aware of it.
You talk about it feels good, so I'm just going to upload more there.
Mm.
What is some of your advice that you have for people that want to be a creator?
Okay, so I can speak to this from personal experience. I have a friend, um, and like for the longest time, he's been telling me that, oh, I want to start a wrestling channel, something like, what Steven Richards is doing right now, just analyzing matches and talking about you know, basically the deeper, more technical stuff. I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And he told me this like 1-2 years ago. And then like every now and then he comes to me and we speak about it again. He's like, I got all these plans. This is going to be the branding. This is going to be like, I made 10 video ideas. All right, great. All right. So when are you going to record your first video? And then, months and months after that, same thing. He's like telling me all of this thing. And all I keep telling him is like, just start, man. Like, no matter what you do and how long you prepare for it, your first video is going to be horrible. Mine was absolutely horrendous. So, and it's not an uncommon thing. It's not an uncommon thing. Like everyone's first video is going to be horrible. No matter how hard you plan for it, just start, It's like you want to go to the gym and get fit, right? Just go to the gym and start working out. That's literally all you got to do. Even if it's just once a week, you don't have to do a video every week or go to the gym every week. Just do it. Just start to do it once every week. And like, you'll learn so much more. So that's the biggest thing I can say, because like all the other advice, they're useful, but once you jump in there and actually start practicing, it's invaluable. It's better than anything else. So just jump in.
That's really, really cool. I just thought of this and I'm really curious to know this. Is Chris Danger / Dankops inspiration for you as someone that tried to be a pro wrestler and also does do pro wrestling and also content creation on the side?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely 100%, as a matter of fact, was, because I've been aware of him, or I've been watching him for a long time, ever since I think 2015, and just following his journey. And yeah, I always thought he was a real genuine person, entertaining person. And so seeing him get into the ring and take this seriously, and it lit a fire in me too. That was one thing, for sure. Yeah.
That's really, really cool, my friend. So you talk about there as well some of your journeys in content creation. How does it start then that you're going to do a podcast in your native language of Turkish?
Oh man. Okay, so in Turkish, I've done every single type of content about professional wrestling at this point. So I did a solo podcast. I did another, like way earlier, podcast called Triple Threat. I had 2 other people with me. That was a little short-lived. The newest one that we're doing, Pro Wrestling Studio, I think it came about just last year. 2 people began with it, and they ran for a couple of weeks. Then I added a 3rd member, and then they ran like that for a couple of weeks. And then I was added because I made a parody video of them, like making fun of them a little bit, and they liked it. But besides that, with all the other 3 creators, I'm like super close friends. Like they're cool. We're cool. So we always had chemistry. Like it's always a really fun time to just chat with them, and so it was just kind of natural. It was, everything just kind of fell into place for the Turkish podcast. Yeah.
You brought up natural chemistry there. 2 people you have very natural chemistry with is Brian and Kenny Bomb. So how does that come about as well?
Well, I was minding my own. Well, actually, no. I was going to tell a whole nother story, but I just remembered one detail. I was doing AEW Fight Forever content, and that's how I first kind of saw Brian's video on my recommendations. Like it was a nice thumbnail. It was a nice name. The video itself was very good. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Let me, keep tracks on him. And then I saw Kenny Bomb, and Kenny Bomb is also really awesome. So like I was already subscribed to him. And one night he was live streaming AEW Fight Forever. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Let me go ahead and, say hi. And that's what I did. And then all of a sudden, Kenny said, oh, Kiero Valentine, man, I know you. You're pretty cool. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I did not expect that at all. Kenny's a cool person. And then all of a sudden, like a week or 2 later, I find myself in a Twitter group, X group, as you like to do.
Yeah. Oh no, he watches the content. Oh no.
not the beginning content, don't worry. But yeah, Kenny just thank God. Yeah. Kenny just plugged me in a group. I was like, what's going on? And then that was kind of the birthplace of our whole shebang. We were called Off the Top Wrestling for a while. There was more of us, and that's how we started. And I'm a really shy guy. Really, I really am. So like, I thought like, okay, this is cool, whatever. I don't know if it's going to be long living or whatever. But over the time, I just ended up gelling really well with Kenny. and Brian. And I think the biggest reason for that is because like they don't care, they don't judge, or like they're really friendly, they're really welcoming. So whatever I say, whatever I do, I feel like I can be free and just chill and hang out like I'm actually hanging out with friends whenever I talk to them. And so yeah, that feeling just got more and more stronger. And after that, with Off the Top, there's been some like problems with our schedules. Not everybody could do all type of content. We had different ideas of where we wanted to take the channel as well, and so we ended up becoming Kiss the Ring with me, Kenny Baum, and just Brian. And man, from start to finish, it's just been a blast. So I hope we can keep it going and keep it growing as much as we can, because it's just awesome.
How do you make your chemistry different with your Turkish co-hosts to the Kiss the Ring crew?
I'd say my Turkish co-hosts are a little bit more systemical. They will, like, we'll have a host, a clear host that's gonna be the host every single week, and he kind of manages the podcast, as we're doing it. And so I kind of just let go and follow the flow. And like he will say, okay, Kero, what do you think about this? And it's like, I'll go ahead and start talking, and then we'll joke around here and there. But with Kenny and Brian, I find them to be a lot more explosive. So like sometimes we'll start off all, orderly, all good, but then they'll get into a heated debate. And at that point, like if I don't scream or do something and wedge my way in there, I'm never going to be able to get a word.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, exactly. So with them, it's much more chaotic, I'd say. But in both situations, I just go with the flow. So, the other podcast, Systematic, sure, I'll chill. This one, if we gotta scream, we gotta scream.
You brought up the Brian and Kenny's debates. What is one that you've sat back and maybe witnessed and you've been like, guys, why are you debating this? Like this, it's only wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's every single one of them, man. Oh my god, like they get crazy. I can just sit back and watch an awe most of the time. Kenny's really good with coming up with arguments to anything, and I think this was when we were again Off the Top, and I think we were talking about right before WrestleMania 40, the Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns match, and who was gonna win this. Or no, that match wasn't even official yet. Like some of us were saying like Roman Reigns and The Rock should be the main event. Forget about Cody Rhodes. And Brian was defending Cody Rhodes. And so Kenny and Brian again ended up getting into it because Kenny was like saying Roman Reigns and The Rock should be the main event. And that night especially, Brian was just going off. Like it was all red, all flustered. He was getting up his chair, like screaming his head off. He was like, that's the maddest I've ever seen Brian ever. Like, oh my God. So I don't think they'll forget that one ever. Like he would just, if we were live in a room together, I don't know, something might have gone down. You know what I mean? I've never seen him that mad. So yeah.
I understand what you're saying completely there. You talked about being mad there and things like that. How do you deal with a bit of burnout and things like that when maybe you've created too much content, maybe done too many streams, and maybe a video hasn't performed that's made you mad and you're like,
yeah,
I need to step away. How do you avoid burnout, for lack of a better word?
Well, like the video I did, I put a lot of work into and didn't do, as well as I expected. That happens a lot more than I would like to admit. And I think that's when it hits me the worst, because like I take days editing a video sometimes, and it does like sometimes 100 views. Sometimes I've been lucky enough to get like close to 100,000 views. But yeah, when it does really horribly, I'm like, that's when I usually stop, if I can, creating content for a while. Like I will always show up for Kiss the Ring and for the other Turkish podcasts, because it's not just me, right? Other people rely on me. So even if I feel horrible, like if I can speak, if I have a voice, I'll show up for them, regardless if I'm burnt out. For my single content, what I try to do is literally anything that I can to relieve stress. So like I'll play a video game I like. We'll go outside, literally just take a walk in the park. Or if I can, I will stop working on content for that day. Work on something else, do anything else, just not do content, and try not to think about YouTube for a second. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually helps a lot because that's something I do, and I try to go do it, 3-4 times a week. Like that really calms me down and makes me forget about stuff, especially when you're getting humbled every single second when you go there and do your training. But yeah, just normal stuff, nothing really crazy, like hanging out with friends, sometimes going out for a night of drinks, literally anything to relieve stress. Yeah.
Mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. So you also talked about hanging out with friends and things like that. So how different do you feel? Because I had this conversation with Brian in when I had him on, and I also had a similar conversation with Kenny when I had him on. Was like, how different is your on-camera chemistry with the Kiss the Ring crew to your off-camera chemistry?
We don't know. Well, we've always been on camera and virtually, at least, because those two fellas, they live in the USA and I live in Toronto. So we never really been face to face. But when we're not recording, we're definitely, it's a classic friendship group vibe where we're saying wilder things, crazier things that we could definitely not get away with saying, like on as we're recording, or we shouldn't put it on YouTube and stuff like that. So we're a lot more chill. We usually just do like rhymes as much as we can with Kenny, and Brian just listens, like we just keep on rhyming and coming up with stuff. We're definitely a lot more chill, and that'd be it.
That's really, really cool. As we look at wrapping this up, Kira, because I do want to be respectful of your time, I'm really curious to know, like, who are some of the creators that you think that inspired you to be a creator? We talked about Chris Danker earlier, like that. And who are some of the up and coming creators that you're like, by the end of 2024, I think they'll be pretty big?
Oh, okay. So up and coming creators. I mean, they're my boys, so I gotta go with Just Brian and Kenny Bomb. I think Kenny Bomb, and especially Just Brian, like when 2025 starts and we get that rollout for the next WWE 2K game, I think it's about to crush it, because like right now there's no content coming out for that game, so nothing really to talk about. So it's to make up like really creative ideas to get views, and he's been able to pull it off. And he just ended, I think, just the other day, like a 170-day everyday upload streak. So he's a beast.
Like that, he was saying on when I had him on here.
Yeah, he's an absolute like machine. So I really see Brian just flying to the moon. I really like JSGJ. Like I think one thing he should do is to publish more, videos consistently, or more, because every time he uploads, I'm like, I just watch it because he has some really good takes. Nice way of delivering stuff, and he's really creative. Like, oh wow, yeah, that's actually a great idea. I don't know why I haven't thought about that before. So off the top of my head, those are the names that pop out to me. But yeah, I do try to look at the up and comers.
What about some, not older, that's the wrong word, but what about some bigger creators that inspire you?
Yeah, so like we said, I guess number one, or the first one on the list, would be Chris Danker from the Oreo Boys. If you know, you know. And then, I really got into YouTube around, like I said, 2010, 11. So we're talking OG WWE 2K YouTubers like Tony Pizza Guy, CM Pulse. He's just called Pulse now. New Legacy Inc. I just love their chemistry as well. Like they're just a super fun group of friends to just watch them do anything, basically. Those three are definitely on my list. And recently, I've really been digging, the stuff that Macho T is doing and Brandon Does Everything is doing. Like those guys to me are the Mr. Beast of pro wrestling content creation. Yeah, like they're really good with the algorithm.
You talk about being really good with the algorithm there and things like that. What are some videos that maybe you want to make, whether it be for Kiss the Ring or your own channel, that you're like, I want to make them, but I know they won't do very well, so I'm not going to, for lack of a better word?
Oh man, I love just simulating matches in WWE 2K games, or any wrestling game for that matter, and running these huge tournaments of like AEW and WWE versus New Japan, and like in this 132 person tournament or 64-person tournament, and it's just like I could sit back and watch that forever. But I know on YouTube, especially nowadays with everything being, right now, let's go.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work out. That's what I used to do back in the day, and it was better. I would get views. Like I would do a 1 hour video and I would get like 20,000 views. Like, let's go. Now, if I do something like that, I don't even want to think about it. So, yeah.
As we look at wrapping this up, before we do the staple wrap-up questions that are on this channel, what would you want? Do you view your career as a content creator, for one, as a success? We talked about whether you view wrestling, becoming a wrestler, as a success and things like that. Do you view your career as a content creator as a success? And what would you want your legacy as a creator to be?
See, this is your deepest question. Now, I'm still not prepared for it. I do view it as a success because my metric is, am I having fun? Like, am I glad to be on camera right now, talking to whoever I'm talking to, doing whatever video I'm doing? Am I having fun? Yes, that's been the case over a decade now. Otherwise, I would have stopped doing this. Otherwise, I would have never tried to, open up a channel in English, my second language, after I had, like 30,000 subscribers in Turkey, after I established myself there, and take this risk and try to grow in a completely different audience that roasts me all the time. They call me WWE Mark, AEW Mark at the same time. But I don't like, it's funny. It's nice. I love it. It's fun. And so I do view it as success. My legacy, I think the number one thing I would like to be known for is to be, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, like me, whatever, is, whatever I'm saying, it comes from this right here. It comes from the heart. I'm being genuine with you. It could be annoying sometimes. I could be pretentious, over exaggerating, sometimes too negative. I think that's one of my biggest faults. But yeah, I would my legacy to be just a fun wrestling channel that's genuinely passionate about what he's talking about, and he's just trying to share it with the whole world. I think that'd be pretty nice.
You also brought up there the occasional negative comments, and also trying to grow a channel that wasn't in your native language. So where did that come about, that you're like, I think I've got to be careful how I phrase this question, but like, I think I've learned enough English now that I could do a channel in English? And how do you also deal with some comments that maybe are like not as nice? Do you know what I mean?
Man, so I think the decision to open up this Cara Valentine channel came from, again, it's kind of like the same thing with wrestling. It was just like, I always wanted to go ahead and try and open up a channel in English. Like, this is not my first one. I had another one back in 2015, I think. It's called, I don't even know what it's called, Nine-Tailed Fox or something like that. I can't even find it. So if you guys can, go ahead and let me know. But I tried that. I wasn't really consistent with it, and I let it go because my Turkish channel was really growing there. I was meeting other people and getting like a lot of opportunities there. So I put it in the back burner. But then I came to Canada, and I always wanted to do this. Plus, in Canada, I studied some digital marketing, and one of my courses was content marketing. And we had a project of doing something on social media or starting a small business. Actually, that was the criteria. And I asked my professor, is starting up a YouTube channel that you can make money from, does that count as a small business? He was like, yes. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for the class. And then I started it, and here we are.
It's really, really cool. How did you know it would be successful then?
I mean, you never really know with social media, but I went in with the attitude of, I don't care, I love doing this, and I've done this for a long time. I have the experience to make better videos than, many other content creators, or at least race with them in quality. And I know if I stay consistent, I can do it. So I just trusted in myself, or as it says on MJF's newest tattoo, I just bet on myself and didn't really think about it. Just, again, jumped in. I just started doing it.
That's really, really cool. As we wrap this up, Kiro, I want to be respectful of your time. We're going to do a segment that's a staple on this channel called Generic Wrestling Questions. Those of you that
Uh,
have seen my interviews before, when else will I ask your favorite match, favorite overall pay-per-view card, such as Double or Nothing
hmm.
2019, such as your favorite wrestler's entrance theme, tag team, and wrestler. So, what's your favorite match of all time?
I'm gonna go with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, WrestleMania 26,
Why does that
because
one speak to you?
um, I remember everything about that match. Again, it was like when I first started watching wrestling, I still thought stuff was real. So I remember just going crazy for every single switchy music Shawn Michaels hit because that's who I had in the match. It was like, oh my god, my heart was just pumping, and I also am a huge sucker for like melancholic stuff, you know. So and Shawn Michaels did it beautifully, you know, after he lost the match, the whole facial expressions, and throughout his career, even with Ric Flair, like pulling off the sad, melancholic stuff, that was Shawn Michaels' forte. One of my favorite video games is Red Dead Redemption, and that has like a very melancholic story and ending as well. So it was just it was just so good. I will always remember it. I think it happened Raw after, but you know they said Shawn Michaels has left the building or something like that. I still remember it like it was yesterday. So that's why like huge part of my yeah.
Why do you view 26 better than 25?
It's just because it was Shawn Michaels' quote unquote last match. He
It
kind of
was his
ruined it.
last match. That's all we need to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Uh, it was his last match, man. It was career versus a streak. Like it doesn't get any bigger than that. You know what I mean? The first match was incredible. I take nothing away from it. The two tombstones, the first one out of nowhere, the kick out, maybe the best kick out in the history of professional wrestling. I take nothing away from that. As a match itself, it was solid. But then that match started a story and it just kept building and building. And like WrestleMania 26, Shawn Michaels Undertaker had one of the greatest builds of all time. Michaels coming out of the Elimination Chamber, switching music and Undertaker out, and like everything just makes my hair stand even now when I'm talking about it. It's just the whole build up, the story, the ending. It was like a perfect cowboy movie. Yeah, that's it, man.
Mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. What about your favorite pay-per-view card?
I think my standard answer for this has always been WrestleMania 19 because one of my favorite eras in wrestling is around 2003. And like you look at the card, you had Stone Cold versus The Rock. I mean, that should be enough to, qualify this. But then you have Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle with the crazy, shooting star press botch. And you have, Rey Mysterio on the undercard and like John Cena while he's doing the Thuganomics gimmick. Like everything was just so perfect. And people like to talk about wrestling should have everything, something for everybody, and that
Mm,
match card had something for everybody for sure. And I just love it from start to the finish.
that's really, really cool. What about your favorite wrestler's entrance theme?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. Oh my god. Um, can I say like two, three?
Yeah.
I think from TNA, I like AJ Styles' last I am. Like you are, you are. That's really good. I think I'm always a sucker for Burning My Lights. I know Randy Orton himself hated it. A lot of people don't like it either because of the hey part, but I like it for some reason. And then I think my number one most favorite, like I like Edge's stuff and stuff like that as well. It has to be Kane, not small, slow chemical, slow chemical. That just goes so hard, so hard.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite tag team?
This is the toughest one. Let me think. Because WWE doesn't really have that many crazy tag teams recently. But I feel like I'm gonna go with Chad Gable, Jason Jordan, American Alpha, specifically because of all the amazing stuff they did in NXT. Like
Ooh,
that was undefeated. That was insane on a whole nother level. So I'm gonna go with the American Alpha.
that's a really, really cool. Then finally, Kiro, the biggest generic question in my opinion. Who's your favorite overall wrestler of all time?
I mean, I think everybody can see this coming, but I always go between CM Punk And my actual number one, it has to be Shawn Michaels. It just, again, all the same reasons I explained. He just jerks those tears out of you so well, especially at the end of his career. That was like the second half. I went back in the day and watched the first half of his career. That was also incredible. Like, this guy was on a whole nother level. Backstage, we don't want to talk about what he does backstage, but in the ring, like, he was amazing to watch. And even when I went into wrestling, he was definitely the number one wrestler I was like inspired by and modeling myself off of. Like, I wanted to be able to become as good of a performer as Shawn Michaels was. That was my goal. So he has to be number one.
That's really, really cool, my friend. As we wrap this up, Kiro, I obviously want to say thank you for a great conversation. But the question I end this show on is, I believe as YouTubers, podcasters, even just people with social media, we're all sort of going to live forever in a very, very weird way if you think about the world. So what is one piece of content you're like, I'd like to be remembered for that? And then what is one that you're like, yuck, please forget about
that? Let me think. I think the content I want to be remembered for is probably my most popular video is like, 130 facts you need to know about WWE 2K24 right now, because like I've been playing these games regardless of YouTube for so long now that I've know every single silly intricate detail about them. And like that was a video where I was able to perfectly showcase it to 90,000 people, and it just proved to me that, first of all, I knew about the game. Second of all, this whole doing YouTube in English thing was a success. There's definitely like the potential here. I can definitely make this work more than just a side hustle. Like, this has some serious potential. And yeah, it just like I put so much research, scripting, editing into it. Everything just lined up so well with this one. And yeah, I'm proud of the way it came out. So that's going to be my best one. And I think one of the worst ones that I can remember right now is there was a video where I talked about, I think the title was like, being a YouTuber is more difficult than you think. I think that's one I regret. It's unlisted on my channel right now anyways. And I really just talked about complained about more so about the difficulties of being a YouTuber. But at the same time, you got to think there are some, coal miners, nurses, doctors, anything else than a YouTuber. Like, that is a way tougher job. And I felt like really entitled complaining about, something I get to do, which is really, really fun, which is definitely not like a real job. I felt that people don't care and shouldn't have to care about what I'm going through in my personal life. That's not why they're subscribing to my channel for. It was just a weird video. It was just when you get drunk sometimes and you take weird videos and then like you regret them later on. I wasn't drunk, but I still regret it.
No, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So that'd be the one.
That's really, really cool. And to be honest, a great way to end this, my friend. But please promote yourself. Where can the good people find you, your work, etc.? It is well worth following you.
All right. Well, you can find me on Kero Valentine on YouTube. I do a lot of pro wrestling content on there, but I also do some other gaming stuff every now and then, and some anime. So if you're interested in those too, I got them for you too. You got to check out KTR Kiss the Ring, man, with Kenny Baum and Just Brian. We talk about wrestling there all the time, and like we have some real fresh videos coming at you real fast. So those two would mainly be it. If you're Turkish somehow and you're watching this without knowing about me, go check out Kero Shero and Pro Wrestling Studio from Enzo Paschi. That's going to be the Turkish podcast. But yeah, those are all my plugs.
That's really, really cool, my friend. It's well worth following this guy because he's one of the most up-and-coming people in this space. And he's going to be very big very soon. But if you guys like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Flourish on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter or at Tom Talks Flourish.
Yes.
And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.